doing? Welcome back to the studio. Happy Wednesday. It's been really nice here in LA. Joined with Ernesto over here on guitar. Got my good buddy Kevin Chown over here on bass. And what we're going to do today is really cool because you can use this anywhere. Home, your basement, your garage, your rehearsal space. You don't have to have a big studio to do this setup. This is something that Ernesto and I used to do in our old studio, which was really small. It was smaller than the control room that we have now. But it was a way for us to play together live. Actually, I think the EGH, what was the last record? Not Again?
Yeah.
Was that what it's called? EGH Not Again, available on iTunes. EGH Not Again. Was all tracked this way, where we had the drums, bass, and guitar in the same tiny room. But we ran our guitar and bass direct, and then we reamped after the fact, so we had time to dial in sounds. Now, there's a few cool things you can do with the whole reamping deal. One is isolation. You've got a tiny room where maybe it's even too small to isolate an amp. So you can use the reamp setup, so you can just have it here, but you don't have any bleed whatsoever. Let me turn this in your drum mics. The other thing, and this was actually what we kind of realized when we did it, is with the performances locked in, playing together, when we went to reamp the guitars and the bass, we didn't have to worry about the playing side, so no one's getting tired by trying to play and dial in the tones. So we got to sit there forever and just get the tones right, and then once it was there, we just hit play, and we could change the tones per song real easy. So it was easier, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
But it is kind of strange once the song's done, and you're like, okay, let's record it. You hit record, and you sit there, and it's playing your song and recording, and you're just going, you're twiddling your thumbs. So we thought what would be kind of cool today, since we've been on this topic of tracking live and trying to keep musicians playing together, which is something I know Kevin's going to weigh in on in a second, because it's something that we've talked about many times that we think is so important to get in the same damn room and play together. So this is going to let you do it. So first off, our setup. We're trying to keep this really very much like your home studio. We're using an 8-channel Motu 8 pre. That's it. We've got 4 mics on the drums, kick, snare, and overheads. We're running it straight into the laptop here. Now the Motu only has 2 outputs, so our headphone mix is the exact same thing you're hearing on the broadcast feed. We're running this to a DI that goes out to the broadcast, and we're taking a loop off the DI into this really cheap, man, I don't know how, I've had this thing for, 10 years, this Behringer Power Play.
I have the same one.
You've got the same one?
Oh, yeah.
It's just a 4-channel headphone amp, and we have different volumes, but it's just one mix. So depending on what unit you have, you may only have a stereo pair of outs, or I know some of the Scarlett and the 1820i, is that it? Has multiple outputs, so you can set up different headphones, some of the Persona stuff as well. Today, we're old school. As old school as you can be in this new age. We've only got 2 outs. So that is our setup here. It's right here. That's the whole recording rig. Now, let's start with guitar, actually. Well, Ernesto, I'm bumping mics. I'm fired. Why don't you tell us what you've got going on over here?
So yeah, basically, I'm going straight out of the guitar. First, this is the most important part, because if you want to reamp, you need to have a clean signal being recorded before you go to your effects. So there's no point in going to your, let's say, amp simulator. In this case, I have a Blackstar here. And then you go, no. You got to go first into some sort of splitter.
Like a DI.
Exactly, right? So that way you can grab a clean signal, you record that, and then to hear what you're going to play, you grab the other signal that goes basically through, right? And then feeds the Blackstar. And then after the Blackstar, I have to use a DI to record into the computers.
Now, there are some of, I know the Pod, the Fractal, and some of them already have XLR outs, which would eliminate the need of this second DI right there, because you could just go straight out. In this case, we've had this Blackstar a long time. That's the sound of what you heard at the top. The reason why we've chosen to do it with the hardware unit and not in here is saving CPU power. One is whenever you start loading some of the guitar simulation plugins, and it's just going to start hogging resources. 2, both of us, or neither one of us, can stand the sound of those things. This, I'm not going to say it is an amp, but at least it has more of an amp quality. It's got a tube in it. It's a little less harsh, so it's a little nicer on the ears if we're playing for a long time. And it's a setup that works great. Actually, let's hear it. While we're there, let's do two things. I'm going to solo up the simulator. So this is the Black Star. Go ahead and play. It's dry. Then here's the clean signal. It's basically just line level. Yep. That's all it is. Now that's the signal we're going to use next week when we go to reamp. That's going to go back to our amp, not the distorted simulator sound. So again, the hardware is there to make our life a little bit easier, or the computer's life a little bit easier on the CPU load. So that's it. We're going to do this backwards. We're going to get to bass. We're going to do drums last. So Kevin.
Yes, sir.
So it's a little bit similar as far as how it's split, but he's using a couple different pedals.
Right.
So you want to go through that real quick?
Well, the very first thing you need to do is buy a tuner. I can't begin to tell you how many times I hear bass players play with an out-of-tune bass. Buy a good tuner, okay? Then you come out of that, and it's kind of my experience. I mean, traditionally, like when you play in a studio, typically it would be out of the tuner and then into a DI. And then you're just going to hear the clean sound, which I'm sure we'll probably talk about in a minute, which is killer because you need that as part of the tone. And it's really the same way that I do it when I tour.
And that'll also be the signal we'll use to reamp is that clean signal.
Exactly.
Yep.
You need to, like, if someone's mixing your sound, I think it's really important to give that person a break of consistency. And, you know, if you're working with some pedals and some different kinds of tones where maybe your levels and the kind of overall like body of your tone changes, when you make those changes live especially, you can't let it, you know, screw up his mix out front because he's got it built around a tone that you have at a particular time. And that, so what I've learned to do is always, if I'm playing live or if I'm recording, always have a good direct box with good cables that is direct off the bass without any of my effects on it whatsoever, because that always gives you the option of working with whatever tone you want to work with should you choose. If it's not, you know, a lot of times it's good enough, you know, just like, you know,
yep.
James Jamerson recorded What's Going On a P bass, just
plug straight into the
console. It's one of the greatest bass lines of all time. So, you know, in some cases that's killer. That's all you need, man. So, you know, a reamp wouldn't be necessary, but if you're going for something with like various tones, it's kind of a cool option to have. Mm-hmm. And then once I go through the direct box because he gets my signal XLR. I go through the direct box. I go into a really old school MXR Dynacomp because it sounds killer, man. And it just gives me tons and tons of sustain. And then this is a pedal that I've been working on with a gentleman in Michigan named Todd Cox that I will actually probably be releasing. And its overall intent is to kind of give you the ability to be really angry with your bass tone should you want to. Because it's like an amp tone. It's like the power, you know?
Yep.
And you don't get like power from this.
No.
You need to get power from something else. And so many modern amps even, like I play the Mark bass stuff, it sounds killer, but it's actually a really clean amp. So I need to find a way to make that amp sound like angry. And that's kind of the intent of this pedal. So on this song, I'm just playing a normal bass, which is my Ernie Ball music band. And I'm playing with a pick. So this is kind of like a pick rig. You can hear a little bit of the dirt in there. Here's with the dirt off. Here it is with the dirt. You know, it's got a nice sustain to it.
Yep.
So I have that as kind of like, that's what I hear in my headphones, because when I'm playing too, you know, it's a bummer sometimes if you're trying to play rock and roll and it sounds like you got jazz going on in your head,
yeah.
You know. As a performer, it's important to kind of like get the vibe of your tone and have that ability to do that. So, but
I think that helps us all, actually.
Yeah, it does.
Because even for me playing, and I'm sure it's you, we're playing this kind of rockish thing. Hearing a nice, clean, very pristine bass sound isn't very inspiring as a player.
Yeah, exactly.
But hearing that, I'm like, oh, man,
exactly,
we get some rock.
Right. It's the anger of the whole tone. And so, you know, it changes the dynamic of what you're creating just in and of itself. But it doesn't screw you over if it's a tone problem in the future.
Right.
It's both.
We have the other one that we can use.
Yeah. Always split your signal. That way you make everybody happy if it's live. And it always gives you endless options for when you record.
And again, I just looking over some of the questions, man, everybody on here, nice. I just saw the word latency pop out right away. Robbie, yes. That is another reason why we like to use the hardware, even if we don't end up using the distorted bass tone as our bass tone. While we're tracking, we don't have to have any other sort of plugins doing anything, so our CPU load is low. I am running my buffer on the computer right now at 64. It's as low as it'll go. In Logic, we could get away with 128 and not notice it. But I'm at 64. I've got nothing going on here. We have something that sounds like a bass tone there that's pretty bitchin', so we have inspiration. We have something that sounds like a guitar tone with a pedal over here, so at least we have some inspiration there too from playing standpoint. But our computer isn't getting bogged down, and we're not having that dreaded latency where you hit it and it's like every time. And that's how we get around it. All right, so we've gone through all of you guys. I'm just going to solo up real quick. How? You want to mute the lab. Just one sec. I'm going to solo up just the 4 mics on the kit. Play around so you can just hear what it sounds like real quick. So that's the drum tone. That's it. I've got just a pair of mics on overheads, kick and snare, and that's what we're running. And it's pretty much all there. Got the Gretsch kit, got a Ludwig Superphonic 6.5x14 going here, ATM 250 in there, Pro 63 on the snare, 4040s on the overheads, and that's it. We've only got 8 channels. Just to reiterate that one last time, we're using a Motu 8 pre. We got 2 tracks of bass, 1 clean, 1 distorted compressed, 2 tracks of guitar, 1 clean line level, the other one from the Black Star pedal, and then we got 4 tracks of drums. That's it. Got 2 outputs. That's what's running to the broadcast that you guys hear, and it's the same thing that we all have in our headphones. We're sharing the same exact headphone mix. Now, if you're looking for units to get at home eventually, keep that in mind. If you're tracking by yourself, 2 outputs may be all you need because you just run off the main stereo feed, the one that tracks 1 and 2. If you're going to be playing with some other musicians, it might be wise to do a little research and find a unit that has multiple outputs. There's a lot of different 8-channel units that also have 8 outs. Motu makes them, Presonus makes them, Focusrite makes them, and I'm sure there's other companies that do too. But just make sure you find something that fits your needs or that you can expand with a little bit. I'd always err on the side of you may not need it today, but a year from now, it might be something you need, and instead of having to go out and buy new gear every year, I know it's fun. I know it's fun to buy gear, but it gets expensive. Just think ahead a little bit on that. So, should we track?
Yeah.
See if we can get a good take of our tune that we're going to use to do reamping next week. See if we got any questions here first.
Yeah, spend less time trying to figure out gear and more time figuring out how to play music. That's what I say to that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Go with the basics, man.
Charlie Mafia. I love that name. I hope I said it right. No Amps Live, where everything is direct. Exactly. We're going to reamp everything after the fact. That's going to be next Wednesday. We're going to go over both of these, the bass and the guitar, reamping everything with real amps. So today, it ain't none of that.
That's how you do it. Really.
Yeah.
It's that
Boom.
simple.
Make sure we got it. Yeah, it's all there.
Yeah. Boom.
Boom.
And that's it. We got a nice short little rock tune that we can go over.
Got a hit record coming up, man.
That's right. We're changing the world. We're making history right
We
now.
are right
man.
now.
Michael Jackson ain't got nothing on us.
Nope. That's gonna be that'll be killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Kev, thanks for joining us, brother.
My pleasure.
Ernesto, awesome. So next week we're gonna have a couple things already set up with the guitar amp and with the bass amps, and we're gonna go over exactly how we're gonna hook up the reamp when we're gonna be using the little labs. Which here, you want to hold that up, Ernesto?
Oh.
Which is this guy right here. It's a DI and reamp box. So we'll go through this exactly how to set this sucker up. We'll have a few different things set up on the amp already. We're also gonna have, I actually have one of Kevin's Mark bass amps here. So we're gonna be using that in a couple, we might try a few little fun things with the bass to get something a little more aggressive.
Put in a guitar amp. See, you have the
Probably
option,
gonna be
right?
a bass and a guitar amp is what
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
So you got the option because you got the clean signal, right?
Yep. And that's why we do it, exactly.
Yeah. Right.
And then in 2 weeks, we're going to actually reamp some drums. I'm going to show you how you can use your room, your garage, whatever you have, and a small just PA. We have a PA here. You can see one of the speakers over there. We're going to use that to reamp some of the drums, create a room sound, add a little beef on some of the parts, because we only have 4 freaking microphones. So we're going to add to that a little bit. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week where we're going to run all this stuff through some real amps. Should we play out a little bit?
Yeah.
All
Sure,
right,
man.
good. Let's kick this out. I have no idea what we're going to do. We didn't talk this far through it.